Okay, okay.
Oh, here we are.
I'm with my sister's house.
Oh, mashallah. You still in Philly?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, alhamdulillah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ورضي الله تعالى عن السادة التابعين وعلماء العاملين وأئمة الأربعة المجتهدين ومقلديهم إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone.
You can't see me go come right here, can I?
Nope.
Alhamdulillah. Welcome to our regular weekly Black Imam Roundtable. Inshallah. Before we get into it, I would like you all to share this video. Share the video on your pages, your platforms. Like the video. Inshallah, we're going to get into it. Inshallah. Don't worry. Our other two Imams will be joining us very soon, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, yeah, let's get these numbers up. Share the video, inshallah. We got 20 people watching live on Facebook, inshallah. Share the video on your page. Very important topic.
How do I share this video on my page? Oh, wait a minute. Oh.
Yeah, if you go to the video and click on it, at the bottom left, it'll be a share button. Cut off my fan.
Is it a little hot? Want to make it hotter?
Alhamdulillah. Let's get these numbers up, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Tonight, we are, Wa alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Imam Faheem.
What's up, man?
Alhamdulillah. Good. Excellent. Now that you're here.
Man.
We were just opening up and we were encouraging the people to share the video and let everyone know that we're here so we can get into this most important topic, inshallah.
Hey, you know what though, man? You know who's on right now? Trump is debating Biden right now, man.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I know, man.
And I bet Biden is slapping Trump upside his head.
Here's my little daughter. She hates Trump, man. I don't know if you got that. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Wa alaikum salam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone who gave the greetings, inshallah. We're talking about the importance of and lessons that we can learn from the life of Malcolm X, El-Hajj Malik Shabazz, and its relevance, or how these lessons are relevant to us today during our time, inshallah. So, Imam Luqman, would you like to begin with some opening comments?
Yes, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Here's my thing. First of all, I want everybody to know that I made a pledge to Allah again that I would really curb my language, curb my harsh language, curb any profanity, inshallah ta'ala. This ain't the first time I've made oaths and I've had to feed people and pay money to expiate my oaths about 3 or 4 times. But when my brother passed away, he really stressed that to me. So I'm going to try to talk in a better tone, inshallah ta'ala, because somebody Anyway, here's the thing about Malcolm X, or El-Hajj Malik Shabazz, okay? There's a lot of lessons to be learned from his life. However, in my humble opinion, we have not learned those lessons. We've gotten far away from any lessons in his life. That's number one. Secondly, with respect to his legacy, most of us today, were we to be on the same page that he was, even if we talk like he did, that would constitute not having political correctness. And they probably call the cops on us. Okay. Malcolm was a revolutionary, but more importantly, he became an Islamic intellectual revolutionary. He did engage in armed, struggle, but he brought up intellectual challenges to racism, to the marginalization of blacks, and he also talked about possible solutions. He talked about the slave mentality. He talked about our behavior in the community. He was a member of the Nation of Islam. He did broaden it to Sunni Islam. He never really got off his feet with him because he was assassinated, and possibly would have been a great Muslim leader in that respect. He learned a little bit of the Sharia, and during that time, very few of our leaders had that type of Islamic knowledge, but he was brilliant. So he was on the path. But what I noticed in recent years, and something that I totally disagree with, is I started to see the emphasis on, promoting this kind of Malcolm X legacy, like Malcolm X Day, like this celebratory culture around him, while being oblivious to his actual message, while discarding the message of Malcolm X, because he spoke about things, he believed in things, about self-sufficiency, definitely Jama'ah, definitely a broad-based Islam, definitely a do for, not only do for self, but think for self, and definitely speaking the truth. So my problem is a commercialization of Malcolm X within the Black American Muslim experience to make it just another holiday. And I'll go a step further, because this is our forum where we can speak the truth. From what I've seen, some national Islamic immigrant-based organizations that capitalize on Malcolm X-ism, right? They start to promote, the idea of a holiday and celebrate. And when his birthday comes, Malcolm X birthday, and we love Malcolm, and Malcolm this and Malcolm that, but actually, without paying homage, without paying too much attention to his actual thoughts as a man. Now, I'm going to say one more thing. I look at Malcolm X like I look at pretty much any other Muslim revolutionary who worked on behalf of the deen. He worked on behalf of the deen, rahimahullah, but you can listen to his speeches from 1963, and it's, in fact, the first time I ever heard Malcolm in a speech, I was in Brooklyn. It was 1977. I had a little apartment that I shared in Brooklyn, and I'm listening to a speech Sunday morning on WBLS. I think, in Brooklyn. I still remember the station. And I'm listening, and I'm hearing his speech.
107.5 WBLS.
I still remember the station because of that speech. I'm listening to WBLS. It's a Sunday morning, and it's a Malcolm X speech. And I'm like, who that dude? Who that? Like, I'm down with that guy. I was 17 years old, or 18 years old, and it turned out it was Malcolm X. And this is 1977, and so the speech was at least 14 years old. And it was relevant. And if you read, in fact, man, I saw you post a Malcolm X speech a couple of times, where if you read the context of the speech, it would seem to indicate that Black Americans have not moved 1 inch since those speeches. We haven't done anything. So I don't like things for entertainment value, And so that's my say on it, is that we as Black American Muslims, in talking about Malcolm, we become the anti-Malcolm. And that's where, so my point is, that we take good from his life, alhamdulillah, Amin. I'm not gonna make him into a superstar, man. I mean, may Allah give him Jannah. I consider him to be a shaheed, which is a higher level than a superstar. Shaheed is up here, superstar is down there somewhere. Okay, and so that's where my homage goes out to him. And I like, as far as his legacy, what I like about his legacy as the Imam is the way he followed the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Say the truth, even though it may be bitter. And so that part of his legacy, I think very few of us are willing to do. I'm gonna leave it right there.
Alhamdulillah, Imam Luqman. Alhamdulillah, I believe, alhamdulillah, I agree with all of your sentiments, inshallah. I'm going to go to you, Imam Faheem. I know that as you start talking, you know, I wrote down, you know, like 11 lessons that I've learned or that are relevant to what we're doing now, lessons that I learned from his life, etc. And I know when y'all start talking, I'm going to be adding to that list. but go, Bismillah, Imam Faheem.
Assalamu alaikum, Imams, and everybody tuning in.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bismillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulihi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawm ad-din wa ba'd. I want to first, well, again, thank everybody for tuning in. I wasn't available last week, so I don't know if that anybody missed me anything. Probably not, but no, I do. Please excuse my.
I miss you, man.
I miss you, man.
MashaAllah. Yeah, I missed y'all too, man. Alhamdulillah. Now, tonight's topic, we're talking about a very, very iconic figure, you know, brother El-Hajj Malik Shabazz, rahimahullah, more commonly known as Malcolm X, and, you know, what his legacy entails, you know. And I think probably an Ossie Davis, when he did his eulogy, you know, he said probably the best thing to sum up Malcolm X is that he was our manhood, it was our shining black manhood, you know, and his whole story is just embodiment of like integrity, courage, and knowledge, and transformation, and you know, speaking truth to power, and you know, saying, you know, understanding the psyche of the people in the audience that he was with, and having, you know, charisma, having personality, and having, you know, wisdom. And I always think of Malcolm now when I see him debating those white folks. I think it was in Canada, or was it England? I can't remember. When it was like a panel.
It was England, at the Oxford Union.
Yeah, the Oxford Union, yeah. And they was just remarkable, just seeing how he just handling these people. And then, you know, he was young. He was what, you know, 35? No, that was like right before he passed, right?
Yeah, he died when he was 39, before he turned 40. So that was like maybe a year and some change before that.
Yeah, and the way he was handling them, you know, and just to know from, you know, how he went from that, you know, the life that he was living prior, and then just to see him be so articulate, you know, and just, it's amazing, you know. And I remember hearing about Malcolm X as Imam Luqman mentioned it. I remember hearing on a rap song, I can't remember, it was like 84, and you know, the song used to go, Malcolm X, no sellout. Malcolm X, no sellout. That was the chorus. And I don't remember what the song, who the artist was. I was like 84, I was like 13 years old. So, you know, I don't know. So, but then I came across his autobiography when I was a juvenile. I went to a boys training school, and somebody handed me the autobiography of Malcolm X. And I was always a reader, man. You know, at first I was like, man, this book is huge. You know, like I was 17 at the time. I was like, man, I wasn't really, you know, but I opened it up and I just couldn't put it down. And I was just, you know, amazed at his life, man. And, you know, subconsciously, I always try to like model myself, you know, like that. You know, like some of the things that always stuck out to me, how he said, you know, once he joined the nation, how he never went anywhere, you know, without his briefcase, without a book, and without a watch. You know, he always had a watch on, always knowing the time, man. And he was just so Oh man, he was just amazing. And you know, Imam Luqman, I'm sorry, man, but he was what did you he was that level you said, I don't know, what did you say just now?
The star, the star.
Yeah, he was a superstar, man.
Yeah. I mean, and let me just qualify my comment.
I'm just messing with you. Okay. I'm just messing with you.
No. He's the superstar and everything. You know, my relationship with the Malcolm X thing was only slightly different because I was raised in the daughter of Islam. So they were already into implementing the stuff that he was living like that. That's how we were raised, to be daddies and all that kind of stuff. So I thought the name was just part of the continuum. Part of the continuum. We had Panthers. We had people revolutionaries in our house. Like real wanted revolutionaries running. We had that. So Malcolm X, I read the book, Autobiography. I can't remember how old I was, and I gave it to my son. He was like 16 to both my sons to read that. But a lot of what he taught, because he was making a transformation from the nation of Islam to Sunni Islam. So I was born in the Sunnah, and when they were making that transformation, my family was involved with helping the nation make we were teaching them and stuff. My father had a business across the street in Temple number 12 on Germantown Avenue. Like we knew now, we knew their heads and everything. So the Malcolm thing, it happened a little earlier than kill. But so we looked at it as, okay, alhamdulillah, Malcolm, Allahu Akbar. But we didn't singleize him as this is example. We was always more, we followed a prophet. Malcolm was just another soldier coming up that got shut down, but he was a genius soldier. He was a genius soldier. You know what I mean? But my problem is I mean, I love Malcolm. I mean, but my problem is to not deification, and not to understand somebody that's all they heard. I heard Malcolm type speeches all day. We listen to black poets, man. I mean, so it's a different perspective, but for somebody who,
go
ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So then when I read his autobiography, it didn't really resonate with me yet. I just, his transformation and being incarcerated at that time, but I wasn't I'm not ready for nothing like that. Like the way he transforms, when I was a juvenile, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was going right back to the street. And so then I got booked again as an adult, and then I started reading his speeches. And by this time I had became Muslim, So I had a little experience with the nation, never committed, but always kind of like those fiery speeches and about black people and unity and stuff like that, never really looking at the doctrine. And then I started reading Malcolm X's speeches, and then that was just even more profound. And then I started reading some of the stuff, and then the ins and outs of the nation, how he left, and some of the things that transpired. I remember reading and Malcolm was really witty, man. He had a little, sarcasm with him. I remember reading one, it was an interview, and he was like, go ask Elijah Muhammad, the man with the $200 suits. He'll tell you, you know what I mean? So he was taking shots. So, you kind of, when you see Malcolm's life, you kind of forgot that street smart part about him, but he still had it because he was so super intelligent and so articulate. But he was like, okay, that's the gangster part. He basically go ask that nigga, you know what I mean? Don't talk to me about that dude, man. He's a fraud, you know what I mean? So and then that made me want to, so many things in this life. The dictionary, I even tried that one time. I didn't get too far past aardvark, bro. When he did that, it was like, man, this man read the whole dictionary and his whole life, and it's just like, so much stuff just, you can identify with coming from that background, and to see him make that transformation and this, he was fearless, man. And, just at that time to be talking to white folks like that, man, it was like, it's powerful. He emboldened people, you know what I mean? Man, I'm ready to take it to these crackers, man. You know what I'm saying? And just so many things, but really for me, just the transformation from that criminal life, and then just seeing it later on in Malcolm's life, I mean, when they started investigating them and, comparing them to Martin Luther King and, they're like in the movie Malcolm X, there was a scene where they was like, they said compared to King, this guy's a saint. So they didn't, he had so much integrity and so much honor, man. Like they didn't even really have nothing on him, man. Like that. And that's remarkable. You know what I mean? That's really remarkable, and I'm still amazed. I'm still blown away when I, read his speeches or hear just seeing his presence on the video, man. It's like, you get empowered, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, this is, Malcolm, man, he was that dude, man, May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us more like him. I mean.
For me, like when I look back at my life, every time I feel like that Allah gave me, like, I wouldn't say opening, but like remove some of the veils and made me more conscious or even step my level up as far as the deen. When I look back on what was going on with me at the time, Malcolm's always somewhere in that story. And for me, I remember growing up, like I wasn't conscious at all. I was just a regular heedless dude. And, growing up, the groups, like Public Enemy, they would have clips of his voices of his speeches in the songs, and X-Clan. That was probably my first time even hearing the name Malcolm, because I didn't read the autobiography, none of that stuff. It wasn't until I was in upstate New York, Upstate University, right? Upstate New York, and they was coming out with the movie. Yeah, I was getting my degree. There was Spike Lee was making a movie X or Malcolm X, and so I used to get like all the magazines sent to me, like the Jet, the Ebony, the Essence, all those magazines, as well as Rap Pages, the Source, all that stuff. I used to get all those magazines, and I was in a box at the time, right? So I used to get all those magazines. So, all the black publications started talking, about Malcolm and, interviewing Denzel and, all this, promotion for the movie. And so I'm hearing all this promotion and stuff and reading all this stuff in the magazines. So I asked my mother to send me Malcolm X, the autobiography, and Roots, both of them, by Alex Haley. And so I read that in the box, both of them, and subhanAllah, that I was different after reading those books. I was completely changed. When I got out of the box, I got this book. The Judas Factor, the plot to kill Malcolm X. Very important book. Let me see you see it.
Assalamu alaikum, Imam Amin.
Assalamu alaikum, Imam.
Wa alaikum salam.
Alaikum Sheikh Major Dakhla.
Wayakum, Habibi. All right, go ahead, continue.
Tell her about the
Brother Benjamin was holding it down for you late, man. People was waiting.
Power to the people.
You got to arrange the pictures back and put yours on the top.
I am below all of you. I just want to be on the bottom. I thank you for allowing me even to be on the stage with you.
Alhamdulillah. So, I'm reading these books, but I've never, still at that time, I don't think I ever heard a Malcolm speech. And then, so I come home, and one of my friends who I met after I came home, he was on this platform with us, Imam Tariq Abdul Rashid. At some point, he gives me a couple of tapes. One of them was the Ballad or the Bullet, and the other one was a message to the grassroots. And I remember I was driving in my car going to Rikers Island to do a Jumu'ah khutbah. And I heard it. I was like, oh, yo. I like, like when you hear that hot song that come on, I'm like, yo. I heard it. I was like, subhanallah. I was all hype. You driving the car, you can't get too hype. I'm like, subhanallah, yo. Right? So after a while, it became my sunnah that before I delivered the Juma Khutbah, I would listen to Message to the Grassroots. You know, that was my hype song. So alhamdulillah, so for me, it was all over from that point of time. I got a lot to say, but one of the things that I want to mention that I feel that lessons we can learn from El-Hajj Malik Shabazz or Malcolm X is that he did not feel special. He didn't make himself special or try to become an elite person based upon his popularity in the way people treated him. I'm gonna give you an example of what I'm saying. When he came back from Africa, you know, because remember he made the trip to Hajj and visited some countries, and then he came back and then he went again. And then he visited several countries in Africa. When he came back, he did a press conference at JFK when he landed. And the one interviewing him asked him, he said something to the effect of, I see you adopted a new name, you know, El-Hajj Malik Shabazz. You know, does that reflect, you know, your change or what have you? And he said, yes, you know, El-Hajj Malik Shabazz, that's always been my name. I always have that name on my passport. It's been there, you know, but I only use it when I travel in the Muslim world. And then the interviewer asked him, he said, will you now adopt that name and drop X and begin using that name? And Malcolm was like, no. He said, what did he say? He said something to the effect that I won't stop using the X until the conditions that created the conditions that were created that allow me to use that name, meaning the X. When those conditions are over, then I'll stop using X. But as long as the conditions remain, I'll continue to use the name Malcolm X. And then he also said in that interview, he said something to the effect, he was like, even though people respect me and they show me honor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, he said, and I'm actually stuttering because I was upset because I was actually looking for that clip before we got on, but I couldn't find it. But he said, as long as they respect me and all of that, I'm not honored nor feel respect until all of my people feel honored and feel respect. And so, you know, a lot of our leaders are not like that. Once they in, they don't care about nobody else. They were like, you know, I'm good. I got this knowledge. They like me. I'm the honorary Negro. I'm good. I've made it. I arrived. Malcolm wasn't like that. He was like, listen, as long as my people don't, unless my people get the same honor and respect, I still feel a need to struggle and everything. So I don't feel no kind of way by them honor and respecting me until all of my people get this honor and respect. So that's one of the things that I had jotted down, that lessons that we can learn, and we need to measure, you know, our leaders and those who stand in front of us by the same yardstick. I mean, because we have plenty of examples of this from the Sunnah. I mean, like a lot of times, you know, we let our Muslim leaders, you know, run ahead of us and get personal benefits and accolades while they leave the rest of us in the dust. And, you know, I can even put names to that comment, but I won't do that right now. But I turn over the floor to our illustrious Imam, El-Hajj, Imam Amin, X.
You're right. Sometimes I don't know who I am. Big X. I got a question. So I missed a lot and I wasn't able to listen in. So where y'all at? You know, so I didn't see no questions, so I can fill in. Because I have my own things, but I don't know if it was questions asked or y'all was just generally talking.
These are just introductory remarks.
No.
So
yeah, we were just talking about what we saw Malcolm X legacy and the impact on us and our experience with it.
So for me, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. I have like a whole different outlook when it comes to El-Hajj Malik Shabazz, rahimahullah, Malcolm X. I have like a whole different outlook. And that is the picture people have that, well, I won't say the picture that people have. I say what is being painted of this new, he became Sunni and then he left his blackness. Or he became Sunni and he was on the haqq and now, he no longer was dealing with the system of racism that exists. That's what's kind of put in the air. And the Malcolm that we all watch, right? Or El-Hajj Malik Shabazz, rahimahullah ta'ala, that we watch, never really changed except that he fixed his belief. That's it. It wasn't a change in him as a person. He was a person who learned, he had false beliefs. He discovered that they weren't correct. He corrected that and went on with the mission that he was initially always about, because he actually lived the reality of what he was talking about. He wasn't just speaking about it from some academic approach or some university study, or no, he lived it. So for him, it was quite personal. As we're now, you have people who are taking on social justice as a part of their resume, but they have nothing to do with the life that the things they're fighting about, right? And so when I look at Malcolm, I look at a bold black man who stood his ground and for what he lived, and he saw firsthand, and he wanted to change that condition. So when I look at that, that's what I take from his life. I don't try to make him some Islamic superhero, right? Oh, his life wasn't based on Quran and Sunnah, as we say. He was still in the process of learning that. What he did know was that this white man is evil. He means no good for my people. And I believe that Islam is a way out. Now, as I learned that, I'm going to share that with you. But what I do know is how to fight him, as I've been fighting him for so many years, decades before this trip to Hajj. I've been fighting this system. I know it well. And I think we as black leaders, as black men, we need to take a page out of that book, because many of us, now that we learn Islam, we consider we're on the Sunnah, we start to leave the fact that we black, right? And then we feel wrong if we act like we black. And this wasn't the legacy of Malcolm X or the legacy of El-Hajj Malik Shabazz. And I'll give you an example. And I'll say it because I'm not like, y'all know I'm not like, I don't hold my tongue. And when I say I don't hold my tongue, not as an evil way, but man, we got to speak the truth the way it is.
Get him, Imam, get him. That's what I be saying when you be speaking and I be watching your videos. You don't hear me, but I be like, get him. Ask my wife, get him.
You go watch.
Get your head out of my pocket.
And it may sound like an attack, be attacked and fix it, because I'm not attacking you to put you down. You got all these trips to the grave of Malcolm X. And how many of them people on the trips is in the hood dealing with the people that are Malcolm X that could become him? Let's just be honest. You go and you have all these trips to the grave and celebrate Malcolm X, but you are scared of Malcolm X. You don't want to be nowhere around no one who resembles Malcolm X. And I laugh at that. And I say this, I say, listen, I hear you. I hear you talking, you know, yeah, with El-Hajj. So you're trying to just repaint that whole picture because you don't want no parts of that real life, right? You wouldn't even want to walk in the footsteps of Malcolm X, but because it's so kind of, you know, I can look like I'm down and I'm nah. Get your butt out in the streets, get your butt in the hood, go in the projects where people like Malcolm X came from, go in the lowest slums of the inner city and do the work that he was talking about, because that's what he was doing. When he got out of prison, he was dealing with crackheads. It wasn't crackheads then, dope fiends, that was the thing then, right? Dope, heroin addicts, which in our time is crackheads, people on base, you know, pills, whatever we got. And that stuff's still going on. That reality ain't changed. Where you at? Where you at? I don't see you, right? And nor in where you're teaching, where you're giving da'wah has nothing to do with those type of people. But you claiming Malcolm, you know? So for us, if we're going to take an example for Malcolm, you know, be Malcolm. I'm not one who like to study people and don't become like them, right? If we're going to study the life and the legacy of Malcolm X, then we got to be like him. He was a bold, strong black man, right? He would go to statesmen, to leaders, to presidents, and speak his mind straightforward. Where are we at today? If Malcolm had at his disposal what a lot of us as black so-called scholars and people on the dean got at our disposal, Malcolm would have changed the inner city. All the millions of dollars you hang around with, you don't get none. You just raise for somebody else and nothing goes back to your community. So for me, the legacy of Malcolm X, the lesson I learned from him is be a strong black man. That's my open statement.
Imam, just to piggyback on what you said, because I said something like that before you came on. I remember when the Spike Lee movie came out and niggas was wearing Malcolm X hats. And everybody was missing Malcolm X. And what you said is very true. If we talk like Malcolm talked back then we're politically incorrect. Then we're wrong. And people would fear Malcolm. And the other thing I made a point of this is that Malcolm, if you want to take something from his example, he was fearless. And this is the quality that many people are afraid to adopt, the fearlessness culture of giving dawah and doing change. Another thing that we really need to take from Malcolm X, just to do, the other day, you know, all these brothers got Malcolm X on their profiles on Facebook. Malcolm X, you got fake name and Malcolm X. So my 4-year-old son asked me, he said, "Boo, who's that?" I said, "That's Malcolm X." He said, "Why does he have that gun in the hand like you're doing?" I said, "Because he has to protect himself." He said, "From who?" I said, "From traitors." He said, "Where he at?" I said, he dead, you know. And then he had some more questions. But the thing about the legacy of Malcolm X, what it should tell us is that any black Muslim leader who speaks out about the reality of what's going on, who speaks unabridged, who speaks the truth, who challenges the status quo, is likely to be shot down, is likely, very likely, either be incarcerated, trumped up charges, assassinated, infiltrated by somebody, like in the case of Sheikh Luqman, Abdullah, somehow scandalized. We know that will happen. That does happen. Any Black American Muslim leader who has the temerity to challenge racism, to challenge colonialism over Black Muslim of America, who challenged feminism, who challenged the way that the whole legacy of Malcolm now, we're not controlling the commercialization of Malcolm's legacy. Other people came in to our community who are not Black, people. They said, "You know what? We need something to get these niggas something to do." Malcolm X Day. Man, I didn't even know people was going to Malcolm X grave. But I can see somebody, yeah, we got to tour Malcolm's grave and so on. But you have to look we don't even control the message that put now about Malcolm. Not that we want to control the message, because yeah, he's happy a martyr of Islam. But if you want to take something from his lesson, you want to take generational continuity. That's what you take from his lesson. Generate group continuity. Because Malcolm had children too, who didn't follow. I mean, I think one of his grandsons did, but the generational continuity was cut off. Well, he was still learning Islam. If you want to take something from Malcolm X's life, you want to take the fact that we have to restructure the way we have our leadership in Black Muslim America. That's why it's not about one person. The Prophet ﷺ, he had Umara all the time. And he would have emirs, okay, you the emir. Something happened to you, then he the emir. Something happened to you, then he's the emir. Something happened to you, then he's an emir. So if you want to learn something from Malcolm's life, you want to learn that it's necessary for especially Black American Muslim leaders to have duplication of the leadership. It's the same type of leadership, but you have to have some duplication, because that's an example of what happens, because we want imams to be outspoken. We want you to be out there. And yeah, some imams run ahead. I'm gonna finish this. Some imams run ahead and they get the money and they leave us behind. Other imams run ahead and get shot down and nobody say nothing. The same thing with Imam Jamil, man. All these imams, yeah, when they going, but when Malcolm was alive, he didn't get that support. It's always after they going. Yeah, Malcolm or Imam Jamil, who did when Imam Jamil was on the outside, he didn't get that support. He ain't get nowhere near support. You ain't one Imam Jamil be talking. He was talking Bay'ah, Jama'ah. He wasn't talking nothing radical, Sunnah. He ain't get that. Imam Luqman, Abdullah, who was my close friend. When he was alive, hell no, he didn't get that kind of support. The support after he died, oh, Imam Luqman, mashallah, blah, 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 and Malcolm, the same thing. So I'm against the whole commercialization of Malcolm X, using his name, using his legacy, and you ain't about his legacy, man. You know, so what I would learn from him is that's why I like this roundtable, the idea where you have more than one imams. You may have a leader amongst them who are not even known. Because we have to develop a leadership structure that we can continue with it. If this slide, so that's the Sunnah. If this slide is taken out, this one's still doing. And so Malcolm, his mission stopped when he died. I mean, people try to pick it up at MIB. Imam Talib doing a good job. You understand what I'm saying? But it ain't, his community had to really hustle for funds. It ain't like somebody came, look at the Masjid that he founded, and we're gonna just make that to a multi-million-dollar joint with all the program. No, man. So to me, the whole Malcolm X-ism ain't nothing but I'll just call it rhetoric. It's just rhetoric, man. It's just entertainment, man.
Can I ask a question? I don't know if y'all asked, and I would like to see what your opinion was this. If I don't know if you asked this, Imam Naeem, but if El-Hajj Malik Shabazz was alive today, right? Let's try to, and he has, what would you think, now he's old, now he'd be very old, but let's give him live to be 50, right? So 50, 60, and he has a community, and he didn't get assassinated. So he lived to be 60, right? So he would have reached the 80s, right? Let's say 70, he's in the 90s, right? What do you think his community would have looked like without being assassinated? That's my question.
I think that his community would have looked a lot like the Nation of Islam, because a lot of people, and obviously I don't mean in creed or belief, but I think a lot of people forget, because one of the things, and I wrote this down as a separate point, but one of the things that Malcolm was afflicted with was extreme hasad, extreme envy and jealousy. I mean, a lot of the people in the nation who hated him were people who've been around longer than him, who some of them were even locked up with Elijah Muhammad, spent time with him. They were ministers. And here comes this young Malcolm just skating past all of them and rose to the top. And so that made a lot of people jealous of them. And a lot of those people, you know, in the nation and later on through the different offshoots, they, even to this day, some of them that's still alive, they still express it to this day. So they, because of the jealousy, they try to minimize or take away his contributions. So I'm gonna give you an example of what I mean. Right, the Nation, one of the things that the Nation was known for was Muhammad Speaks newspaper. A lot of people don't know that Malcolm created that newspaper himself in his basement in Queens. He started the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. A lot of people don't know that he was the early trainer. He was the early trainer of the FOI. He trained a lot of them. A lot of the same people who was knocking themselves over trying to kill him in the different branches of the FOI were people who he saved personally and had a major impact in their life. So he would have started, you know, a publication, a media outlet to make sure that the message got out. And you can see even before he died, he was trying to do these things with the two organizations that he created, Muslim Mosque Incorporated and that Organization of African American Unity that he created. He started publications. He appointed people to be the editors. And so all of these institutions that built up and made the nation, a lot of people like to take away credit from him and pretend that all of these things was built up and fully operational when he joined. They forget the fact that, you know, some people even put the numbers as low as 200 people when Malcolm joined. Right? A lot of people forget that a lot of the institutions within the nation was built by him. Like, for example, Muhammad Speaks newspaper. Muhammad Speaks newspaper was created when him and Elijah Muhammad had reoccurring columns in the Amsterdam News and the Courier, which is a paper that's based in Pittsburgh. They got the new Courier now, I think it's new, but these Black-owned publications that were sort of kind of sympathetic and friendly and allowed them to publish articles and stuff in their paper on a reoccurring basis, they had these things. But even then, Malcolm knew that, listen, we got to have our own platform and we got to put out our own message. So that's one thing he would have done. He would have, I believe he would have put in place a security apparatus, just the same way that the Nation of Islam had with the FOI. Or I think most of the things that we see in the Nation of Islam, we would have seen in Sunni Islam if El-Hajj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X, was allowed to do it. Because he said himself, he said, we had the best organization that the Black man has ever created. Niggas destroyed it. So it wasn't the organization and the apparatus that was wrong. It was a belief system. So that's my opinion.
Imam Faheem?
Yeah, I think had Malcolm still been alive, you know, at least to the 70s, I mean, it's just, I mean, the possibilities, man, you know, but one of the things that he probably would have been faced with is opposition from the rival group, you know what I mean? I mean, because Malcolm was like the ultimate soldier, man, you know, I mean, he knew his place. I mean, he had exceptional leadership qualities, but he also respected protocol, you know what I'm saying? Like when he was silenced, you know what I mean? He took it on the chin, man, you know, and, you know, the impact of being in that cult, man, it was like, you know, how it affects people, because Malcolm was super intelligent. And it's like, you know, when you know what I mean, when the whole thing about Elijah being fulfillment of prophecy with wives and all that, he was trying to justify it, you know what I mean? So, I mean, but Malcolm also had that ability to spark fire in people, man. Like, you know, the way he gave his speeches and the way he talked with so much sincerity, you know what I mean? He would have had like a great support system. He would have produced, you know, a few other Malcolms, you know what I'm saying? To be ready to take his place, you know, and it's just, you know, and I think all this stuff, man, that, you know, they knew the impact, the potential impact that he would have had, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I just see like it would have been just like rival factions, you know what I mean? And fighting with each other. And then, you know what I mean? And but alhamdulillah, you know, he would have been a Sunni Muslim, so that would have made a difference, you know. Allah knows best, man. But you know, it's a lot, man. You think about it, it's a lot.
Imam Luqman, you want to tackle that? What do you think that community, Malcolm, at a, you know, a 50, 60, even up 65-year-old Malcolm, so that would have been in the late 70s, 80s. So we saw all these transition happening in the 80s and towards the 90s. What you think that would have looked like? There's a reason why I'm asking this question.
No, I mean, alhamdulillah, I mean, I can't envision a situation where Malcolm X or El-Hajj Malik Shabazz, at the speed he was going then, would have been allowed to survive, or any organization under him would have been allowed to survive, because his preaching alone, it was just beyond the scope of what the average Black person was willing to do, because it was an intelligent version of Islam without the nation. And Islam, because he's combining the elements of discipline from the nation and the go-get-itness from the nation with the universal belief of Islam. And that's closer to the Islam that we know. And even until this day, this is the year 2020, and this day, the average Black American Muslim has a problem, not the average, many Black American Sunni Muslims have a problem with the basic element of the Malcolm doctrine, which had to do with loyalty, had to do with fealty, had to do with forward motion, had to do with accepting leadership. And so I tried to think about your questioning, man. I tried to really think about it. And I just can't even envision where he would not have been beset by house Negroism, the system, scandal, because every Imam that I know, most Imams that I have known since Malcolm X, that's the kind of stuff that they run into. And if he would have gotten any material support, he would have been accused of being a sellout, because that goes part and parcel, which is, so I can't even answer that except that way. I can't envision, because we have certain pathologies that are deeply set in us as Black people. And he went right at it. He went right at the core. And that's still, to this day, that is a very difficult prospect for Black Sunni Muslims today, to even make bay'ah, to even be a community, to even give $10 a week. That's difficult for many people. I can't say the reason, but I'm saying that, like, if you look at the speeches, I don't know as much about him as you do, Imam Naeem. I read his book. Like I said, we didn't really idealize Malcolm because we were dealing with other stuff in the nation, the Panthers. You know, I didn't know Malcolm, but I knew, we knew Huey. We knew them personally. My pop used to pick up Huey from the airport when he came to Philly. You know, and I knew Bobby after the fact, though. I mean, I knew him after he was out. He was teaching at Temple University then. So our view of Malcolm, because he's kind of before my time, my father knew him more. I don't know if he knew him personally, but it was like they came into the Sunnah and they killed him. So we never got a chance to have that official interaction with him as Darul Islam, you know. So we never got that. He was killed. Came in, tried to set this up, bam, he gone. So, which is why this is my personal thing, and that could be. This is my personal feeling, is that we should downplay the thing about the Malcolm legacy thing, because we don't have the ability as Sunni Muslim Imams or otherwise, we don't have the ability to control the commercialization and the fattization of his legacy, which is like being done now. What you remember he talked about? They talked about last year before having a holiday, and it wasn't Black people. It was it was a Black American man who proposed it, but it was immigrants who were pushing the idea of a Malcolm X Day for them to make money off of. and to appease black people. And so my thing, knowing this much about Malcolm, like I don't know, I ain't studied his life all into detail like that, but knowing this much about him, he would be against the commercialization of his legacy and sold to our people to appease them. There's somebody doing something that now is a Malcolm X plaque in the Masjid, Malcolm X Day. What? So that what y'all did something now? Because the ideas that he died for, they're high ideals. I think he might have modified it because now our struggle is a little bit different. You know, it's not so much emphasis back then was put on military armed struggle with the white man. That might come back because these boys is preparing themselves out there in the suburbs. But now our struggle, in my humble opinion, our struggle is within. It's within. It's like you have to separate the people who's going to do and the people who's going to talk. And the only way you can do that is with Bay'ah, organization, amirship, responsibility. You can't do it because people can say anything, man. But the proof is in the pudding. And that's what the Prophet did. And Malcolm was about that, in my opinion. He was about that. But when he jumped into Sunni Muslims, they'll leave you hanging, man. They will leave a leader hanging. Let him get some money and still be with the people. The scandal coming. Imam got money. Our idea as Black American Muslims is that we have a concept in our mind as Black American Sunni Muslims that our Imams need to be weak. They do not deserve to have wherewithal. If they do, Imam got too much. He got 2 SUVs, that's a crime. Even though he could be at the Masjid 5 times a day, every day, in the hole with the people, man. No other religious group has that. You understand what I'm saying? Because really, a lot of the stuff that we talk about even on this forum, man, you can't do it if you don't have resources. So Malcolm to me is just, we don't want to, in my view, we don't want to bring in another fad. Listen, they was talking about making statues of the they were talking about making statues of Muslim pioneers, man. ICNA was talking about lobbying Congress so there's a pioneer day for Black Muslim pioneers. I mean, they shut that idea down, but that's about the same time the next thing was looked at, because they're looking at, you gotta understand what's happening. They're looking, I'm talking about the Muslims now. I'm not talking about whitey. I'm talking about within Muslim America, man. People are looking at the demise of Black Muslim America. We are on a civilizational decline. If you look at the numbers alone, you will see that right now with 13% of the population of Muslims in America, 13%. By about the year 2030, we're gonna be about 6-7%, man. By about the year 2050, we're gonna be like, we're not gonna be nothing. Less than 1%, man. Seriously. It's just the mayors that we know, so and so. I'm getting stories from Dallas, Tennessee, all these states where, man, the Black American Muslim Masjid is gone. It ain't on the way go, it's gone. And the immigrants communities aren't picking up. So the whole Malcolm thing is like, you know, look, man, we're gonna talk about it. I mean, that's my take on it. I said no.
So here's my thing, right? Because I like to see this, right? When we, and I think this is just my opinion, that and my thoughts about it, because I think looking at Malcolm or El-Hajj Malik Shabazz from our view, I think is an error, right? Because Malcolm, El-Hajj Malik Shabazz was against a colonized mindset, which Imam Luqman talks about all the time. But most of us have a colonized mindset through Islam, right? So in order to be on the Sunnah, we run away from everything that we know how to change our condition, and then adopt something and try to apply it to a condition that doesn't work. And I think all of us have felt that at some level, right? And I think the fact that we have a Black Imams Roundtable and having this conversation was something probably 10 years ago for all of us was like taboo. I mean, if we really be honest, right? That's not like a conversation we're going to have, because in a way we took Islam as we had to be someone else to be Muslim, right? Where every other people got Islam and they maintained their culture, their, practices, and just corrected which was Islamically, not acceptable. And I think we're still at that stage. So I think if we look at the life of El-Hajj Malik Shabazz from a side of being Black people who happen to be Muslim, I think we can do more than looking at it from the side of he's on the Quran and the Sunnah, because that reality, if you use that scale, and Imam Naeem put up an article years ago that he was broke. He ain't had no money. He ain't had no support. He couldn't even travel, right? So if that model was to continue from our side, I don't know how much success he would have had anyway, because we're still seeing that model right now. But when he was working, having Black people, supporting Black people, he was able to do more, right? And then remember, he was living in a time where the oppression was obvious. So Black people were more inclined to support it because they looked at him as a way of rescuing them from the oppression. So I'm like, how do we bring that to our time, right? Because right now, I want to ask a question. Where is the recognized Black leadership, Islamic, I'm saying Muslim leadership, among us that is accepted by the majority of us? And if you can't name it, why? Anyone can take that. Because that's something to think about when we talk about if Malcolm came today, or how do we build from his legacy?
And I just want to touch on that a little bit, because that leadership does not exist. I mean, we're seeing the budding of it, but we have to fight to even establish it. Someone asked a couple questions about the cup being full, cup being empty, and if we believe, like up with hope, down with dope, that kind of thing, right? My experience, and this is for that sister, and that's a good question. I understand where you're coming from. My experience as a Muslim in my life as an activist is that you get more done. Like the whole idea, we shall overcome. Listen, Allah is merciful. Miracles happen. But there's something that's called asbab in our religion, or causations. And I've seen Black American Muslims for years. Every 20 years, 10 years, 17 years, we had the same conversation. And it's always, well, if we just hold strong, we'll make it. And if we just, just hold on to it, and so it's not so much looking at the cup it has full. There's certain things that if they don't happen within the framework of Islamic civilization, it ain't gonna happen. It won't happen without it. Like a car will not run without an engine. You could be a beautiful car, everything. You can push it down the road, but if you want it to move forward without an engine, it will not happen. Civilizational progress in the Muslim people, not just Muslim, other people, does not happen without some sort of congregational governance. It will not happen. It will never happen. It has never happened in the history of civilization. Has any civilization went forward and there were just a bunch of individuals talking? Nobody's responsible. Nobody's in, that's what Imam was talking about. Nobody's in charge. There has to be someone in our country, in the city, in the mayor's office. No, somebody has to be in charge. You call 911. Who's in charge of this? Who's the captain? Who's the colonel? Who's the police chief? In Black Muslim America, by and large, we're talking about a lot of individuals, even the ones on this thread. Individual Muslims, unattached to anything, have no imam, no accountability. you can't really hold anybody accountable because you yourself cannot be held accountable. You're in, if you like it, you're out if you don't. Even the people who are watching this, and I'm not trying to get rid of the people. I'm getting that people following. I mean, I ain't here to get. I mean, I'm here to say what God said. Say what I have to say, and alhamdulillah, and plus I like to deal with my brothers, man. You know what I mean? But if there's no one responsible, even in the nation of Islam, there are people responsible. Dude, you're responsible for selling X amount of papers today. You gotta come back. Imam was back in the day. He was in the Ansar law community. Man, you had to sell $100. You got, dude, guess what? You go out, bring us back $100 each day. So that, so in the Sunni Islam right now, maybe we're just in the stage. I'm not going to accept that because we're talking about issues that we weren't able to talk about 5 years ago, not in public. You can say black nothing, so we're talking, but if you don't have, there's certain civilizational rules in the religion of Islam that if you don't follow them, you will not go anywhere. The same rules apply in a family structure, congregation. If you don't have jama'ah, it could be fashioned different ways according to the times. The Prophet said, "Alayka bi jama'ah fa inma ya'kul dhi'bu al-ghanam al-qasi." So all these things that we're seeing happen within our Black American Muslim communities are things that the Prophet prophesied those same things. If you don't do this, this is what's going to happen to you. And they're happening. So there's no overnight thing. I don't have the solution. We try to help work together with everybody else to think about, at least put ourselves in the frame of mind to solutionize. Because it has to be, that's why we did the $10,000 thing. I have to go back into that. That wasn't about we need $10,000. We want to see if we can get all these people liking this, like this. Oh, Imams, you're great. MashaAllah, proud to the people. How many of us are going to give them some money? It wasn't about the money. I mean,
what the sister said about wanting to die and just wanting to sacrifice, because to do all these things, and I really believe that we need to really look into taking our situation as a people and dealing with it as we see it and not try to make it like it's not, right? So, for instance, what I mean by that is we know white America has no good in their desire for us as a people. That's obvious, right? We'll try to Islamically reason our way out of that reality. It ain't about racism. There it is, racism. This is real, right? But, you got Muslims today who try to say I'm not black. Like, I mean, that's the mentality. I'm not black, brother, I'm Muslim. Huh? So, I mean, that concept, I think, I say, I know he wouldn't have went for that. I can't see it. Like, a man like him, and he didn't, even when he was alive. He didn't have that kind of mentality because he was dealing with the situation on the ground, right? So, I mean, I wonder what we're going to do right now to try to bring that stuff to a reality. Because a lot of times we talk and we don't say, what can we do to make it a reality? And if I can't do everything, what part can I do to make it for the next generation? And I think we need, because if we look at what's left from Malcolm, we're living in that aftermath, and we're still having this conversation without an answer. So I think one of the things we got to do is start trying to come up with answers that we can practically do. So Imam Faheem, can you shoot us some practical things that you think we can learn from that life of Malcolm, what we should be doing right now?
I'm telling you God's words, not no hustle. That was just a joke, man. You didn't get it.
I got it.
Some practical things.
I said I caught
Huh?
the movie line. I got it, brother.
Say it again. Okay. No, I thought Imam Naeem was gonna laugh. That would have made my day.
No,
but
I
he
was
just,
laughing.
you know, he taking notes. No, you keep the notes. Now, some of the practical things we you know, it's unfortunate because when we talk about organizing and having Black leadership, like it doesn't exist, and then we try to make an attempt to have some kind of, you know, structure for leadership, we'll get all types of opposition, you know what I mean? And that's really the sad part. But at the same time, we got to still keep pushing it, you know what I mean? So one of the practical solutions, I think, is what we're doing now. We're getting all of our like-minded people together. You know, we're spreading the word. We're talking about things that are exclusive to us as Black Muslims in America, because it's a unique experience, you know, especially people who made transitions. You know, we went from the Nation of Islam to, you know, to World Dean's community, in some cases, you know, Dr. York's community, and then Salafi community and stuff like that. And all of us are here. So we need to get all of those people around the country and tie into a broader network and, like, you know, identify who is our leader, who has this position, and then people just got to be committed and dedicated. You know, one of the remarkable characteristics of El-Hajj Malik Shabazz is that he was totally dedicated. When you read his story about, you know, for the 12 years when he was preaching, when he got out of prison, he was all across the country establishing mosques and, you know, temples and stuff like that. I mean, and he was a workhorse. Like, and Elijah Muhammad, he recognized, like, I got a workhorse in him, and so I'm gonna just give it to him, and he did the work. So we need people to be those workhorses, man, along with ourselves, of course. But, you know, just keep pushing what we're doing, and people got to buy in, you know, to what we're trying to do. You know what I mean? Especially after all this stuff, because now with all of the stuff with division and all of these sects, and then these cults that come in, you know, posing in Islam and people preaching the wrong Aqidah, it's very difficult to sift through all of that and, you know, be committed to something. But we got to do it. We got to keep chipping at it. So, you know, just keep pushing it and getting our people. And then, you know, in the meantime, we're working on what our goals. You know, we've already mentioned some of them, but, you know, raising money, being dedicated, helping each other, raising our people up, you know, and getting those downtrodden people that Malcolm always spoke to. You know what I mean? You know, the people on the street that's on drugs and all that stuff, you know, we got to go get them. You know what I'm saying? So that's just something I think we need to do, inshallah.
Imam Naeem?
I think one of the lessons that we get from Malcolm's life and his situation and what will help us move forward is, and I'm sure all you do the same thing, but when I'm listening to someone speak, a lecture or Juma khutbah, even if I can't see the audience, one of the first questions that's running in my mind is, who is he talking to? Like what type of people is he talking to? What ethnic group is he talking to? Who is he talking to? And I say that to say that most of the time, especially when Malcolm was not talking to the press or he was not on the university, when Malcolm was talking, he was talking to and for us, Black people, right? He didn't pretend or assume that he was talking to anyone else. And this is one of the things that a lot of Black imams and Black scholars and Black shuyukh, I don't think they have figured this out yet. And I'm not even talking about the Black ones who are running away from their Black ones. I'm talking about even those of us who acknowledge and recognize the fact that, you know, we are a distinct group of people that need help in services, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Even when I listen to some of them talk, it's like when they're talking, it's like even in the same thought or the same paragraph, they're oscillating between representing the Black Muslim community or the global Muslim community. And like me personally, I'm not under any delusions. There's no immigrant Muslim community that says Imam Naeem Abdullah is one of our spokespersons. They don't even know me. They don't recognize me. They don't care nothing about what I'm doing or what I'm saying. If anything, I'm a liability. And so I'm not going to pretend and be, pretentious and be like, us, the Muslims, because some of the Muslims are going to be like, I don't know who this black dude talking to. He ain't talking for us. We want integration, boss. We're not trying to hear anything that they're saying, right? And so I think one of the things that we need to, like, when we talk addressing our issues, sometimes when we say we or us, some of us, when we say we or us, we're talking about all the Muslims that don't care nothing about us, our leadership, what we talk about. But we still talking about us, everybody. Instead of talking about us, our people, our constituents, most of whom are black. And so Malcolm was clear of who he was talking to and who he was working on behalf of. A lot of times when a lot of us say we, they're not talking about black Muslim. I know some people gonna have the knee-jerk reaction, Islam is for everybody. Of course Islam is for everybody. But, how are you going to pretend to represent or to speak for somebody that don't even acknowledge you or recognize that you're speaking for them, nor care what you have to say? So I think a lot of times we need to stop, getting all confused and recognize who we talking to and who is listening to us and who actually accepts and respects our leadership.
That's interesting that you say that, right? And I notice, that, like, I go through that, and I have to be honest. I go through that, but the reality always allows me to overcome that thing. Meaning, because as a teacher, I have students from all over, right? Unfortunately, because of the plight of our people with all the different Wahhabism and Salafi this and all that, our community's been ripped apart. Like, specifically, I look up, I go on the minbar, sometimes I think I'm in Pakistan or Bangladesh. Seriously. Like, packed. Black people, and I'm saying, where the heck they at? They ain't going nowhere, right? And so, and it ain't because of division, it's an excuse not to do anything. And I'm gonna do it because it's like, I have found me an excuse not to work, right? Oh, it's too much division. It ain't division. Figure the division out and follow whatever you follow and get busy. But they're not even doing that, right? So I think when you talk about finding your audience, I think that's narrowed down, because you got to find people who are like-minded, right? Because you got some people who realize what you're saying, and once you do the work, and they're not from it, and they're not black, they'll support you to do your work. But you got to be bold and say, I'm doing my work, and, we are Muslim, but this is a priority. And they'll help you. And I got a lot of people like that are not black, but they like, Imam Amin, I like what you're doing, I'm going to help. And some of them more than black people. I'll give you my muezzin. I'll give you an example. The muezzin in my masjid, he's from India. He'd been here for like 40 years in the masjid, right? Longer than me. Like, steady. When I became the imam, he came to me after one khutbah. And he said to me, listen, Imam, I will always support you. Keep this masjid black. And this is an Indian telling me this. He said, make sure this masjid remain black. I will support you with everything I got, but make sure it stays black. He said, because this is the only hope for your people. And if you let anyone else take it over, become leaders, they're going to run your people out. Look what he said. And to this day, he has maintained no one is more supportive of our efforts than him on a regular basis, right? He's an engineer, so I mean, he do have a little money, so right, like, but nevertheless, so my point, and that was his condition, keep it black. He said, because your people need this to do what you got to do, and I look at that, I said, man, that's deep. But now, how many of us realize our own need, right? Because I watch everyone else, they come and they have no problem taking care of what they do for their people. They don't got no problem with it. Now,
Imam, I agree with you. Like, for example, when we first put up the fundraiser for our roof, right? A lot of people shared the GoFundMe. One of the brothers on the board of one of the other local masjids, the immigrant community, he texted me to verify if this legit. And when I said, yeah, he sent $1,000 and a whole bunch of immigrants sent money all coming. I knew it was from him. And then and I give you another example. Last Juma or the Juma before last, I pulled up to the masjid. Same time, an immigrant brother, older brother, and his wife pulled up. And I saw him talking to one of the brothers, and the brother said, there's the Imam right there. And so he was saying, he said, I heard you need help with your roof. So he was like, yeah. And he was like, okay. He was looking at the building, and he was like, it's important that this masjid stay here. We need this. We can't let anything happen to this. And while he's talking, he pulled out his checkbook and wrote a check for $1,000. And then pulled up. He wouldn't even stay for Juma. He would just stop by. He wrote the check for $1,000. He's like, it's important that this stay here. And he left.
And I think people respect when people want to do for themselves, because they do for themselves. I think this, as us as Black people, we got to get used to saying, no, we have to help us. Because no one's never going to respect you, right? I'll give you an example. Let's go look at the nation. Go look at Savior's Day in the nation. Even when, during the time when Elijah Muhammad was alive. Look at Farrakhan today. You will notice when they have those Savior's Days, and even back then, you had leaders from all over the world, influential people from Pakistan, India, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and they had a different conviction, but they respect their self-independence. They respected that, right? And I think if we, now that we don't do that, we don't have that respect, right? So the Imam can be some token for somebody else. But if you start doing what you do yourself, you'll find different respect. You would not imagine how many phone calls I get from people who would have never said anything to me except they see what we're doing online. Right? How can we do this? Why don't we work together? And it's only because we are consistent, we keep working, right? And we're not asking for nobody's permission to do what we got to do. They realize that, and they say, you know what? Let's work with them. And also you got to be careful, because they don't want you to get strong and take the Negroes off their plantation. If you get too strong, the Negroes who are on their plantation may come off. So they're careful with that too.
And you know what, Imam, just to piggyback on what you're saying is that, okay, we have to grow up as Muslims. We just have to grow up, okay? I mean, I believe in knowledge, people understanding Shira, really understanding Shira, because if you look at Shira, you can see that when Islam was in the developmental process, it wasn't really pretty like that. It wasn't all politically polite, correct. It wasn't all teddy bears and puppy dogs and stuff. Even the Prophet ﷺ, they had real conversations. I think one of the advantages that we get now, to a certain degree, is that even this conversation that we have is resonating other places, because I see other people trying to copy this type of conversation, but not ready to deal with the same reality. We came to the table, I'm talking about us four, pretty much on the same page, not looking to gain with nothing really much to lose. None of us got no big multi-million-dollar empires like that. And so the fact that we're having, I'm not gonna say unchaperoned conversations, but I'm just telling you as a Muslim activist for a very, very long time, with many imams, many, even some of our Hollywood imams, so we're really close with them, that you never had too many opportunities where Black American imams were able to organize or talk unchaperoned. Even the first Black American Muslim conference was heavily chaperoned. I remember, not to take anything away from the brothers who were doing it, but they had to literally get on there and explain to people why you having a Black American. I mean, you had to explain. Like when you find yourself, just like when you gotta explain to somebody why you put a new roof on your house. Dude, cross you, Bobby, you a nigga, why you put a roof on your house? Well, man, we need a roof. You know, you gotta explain. You know, and so that colonial, I just posted a book on colonial Islam. That colonial mentality is deep, and it has to be. It's not so much attacking it, but I think it's the attitude that in order, and this is my opinion based upon what I know about our community, and I've always been in the Black Muslim community, born, always been in it, is that the people who really propel the conversation into action, most of them brothers, most of the imams, at some point, if they're not gonna, you know, they're not gonna get killed, marginalized, somebody has to take the hit so that the door is open. That's just the way life, that's just the way history is. You know, Malcolm was one of those guys that took the hit, but after he took the hit, but it scared the bejesus out of everybody. Malcolm, oh man, they killed that nigga. You know, and so I like modified leadership, you know, because right now in America, we're uniquely situated because the message of Islam is not against the government, it ain't against anybody. We're not, you know, we're not even the stuff that we talk about, man. Even the feds and stuff. Although, you know, I'm just saying it's a reality. We learned from the past. Yeah? We're really talking intellectual revolution and freeing people's minds. People are against that, but I remember a time where the talk in the Black Muslim community, it was about hurting something, really, about hurting some people, right? We're not there right now, you know. And so, but a lot of people who weigh in, and maybe some of these people in the thread, people are afraid. So I think if you have this conversation, because I don't have the answer. I just know that by talking about it freely, I think we're going to come up with some answers. I think that we're going to come up with some answers, inshallah, over time, because we're having, you know, tashawwur, like Allah says, you know, وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ وَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. So we're following code. We're following code just because the imams are talking. Like we're following code. Just he got this to say, I got my say, you got your say, you got your say, but we still brothers in this land. We're following code right there. We're actually following code, and following code leads to results. I think the answer is coming, but it has to do with governance. It has to do with taking. Every Muslim should have some sort of allegiance. It could be a membership. It could be simple. The Prophet said, whoever dies, man mata walaysa ala unuqihi al-bay'a faqad mata maytat al-jahiliyyah. That's the sahah. The Prophet said, if you die and you don't have only neck a bay'ah, and that's just like saying you don't have any commitment to any leadership, and you die, you have died in a state of jahiliyyah. And we can't ignore these civilizationally based hadith about, I enjoin you to be in the congregation because the wolf will devour the stray sheep. We can't just keep ignoring that. We can't ignoring things that curse you. We can't ignoring not having contract. We can't ignoring not having nobody in charge. Who's collecting zakat? Who's in charge? I mean, each community, I think, have somebody in charge of this and that. But you have Muslims in the tens of thousands who are out there. Okay, I'm complaining about the Muslim leadership. Imam should do this. Imam should do this. Imam should do this. And you're not even using your real name. I ain't got your number. We ain't got your contribution. Yeah, we haven't got your contribution yet. You talking? That's unheard of in Islamic history. During the time of the Prophet, even the women who made hijrah, he said, "Listen, you made hijrah, fine. Okay, let's get things straight. You Muslim, right? Okay, that's cool, cool. Okay, you have to be committed. Bay'ah, you know, that touches their hand, put a cloth over his hand, because I need to know, sister, that you belong to this community, right? Now that we know you belong to the community, yeah, we will protect you. We'll look out for you, man. We got you. But we can't have a situation where tens of thousands of Muslims put pressure on leadership that ain't even their leadership to lead and guide them with no money and no support. And they'll run from you if you get in trouble, even if it's good trouble. That is just a recipe for failure. And because people check in and out of the Muslim movement, wait a minute. Yeah, you guys, wait a minute. Because people, because go ahead. Because people, no, let me do it. Because people check.
I know how.
No, let me do it. I'll get friend.
I know how.
Because people check in and out. Idris, be quiet.
But I'm strong.
I know you're strong.
Well, just let me open the cage.
You ain't that strong, man.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not. Because
am.
people
I
check
will.
in and out of Muslim activity is casual. And I'm just saying that nobody else is doing that these days. You go to these churches, you go even the white militia movements that we say we hate.
He froze up.
That's the cue.
Imam Amin freeze too? Or not?
I don't freeze. I'm all hot. Wait. Is there some questions we could take?
Issa Bey had a question. Let me find it. I just put Issa Bey's question up there. He said, I'll read it. Imam, I really think you should touch on how unity under false, okay, he got it. She got it there, alhamdulillah. How unity under false pretenses leads to a breakdown eventually. I hear people calling for unity but refuse to tackle the issue of Aqidah. During Malcolm's time, he was part of a tight group that didn't have proper Aqidah. And we see how that turned out. This is my request. Not sure if it showed up on the screen properly on the roundtable. I think that's an extremely important point that we should touch on, because a lot of people don't realize, like, a lot of people lost their lives, you know, directly and indirectly connected to Malcolm X. You know, between, you know, the Nation of Islam and so-called Sunni Muslims in many different cities. And a lot of the bloodshed was done with the stated intention that, like, these people are hypocrites. Like, for example, in Washington, D.C., with the so-called Hanafi killings, where, like, even babies were killed, you know, by the hit squad that came out of Philly, defending the honor of Elijah Muhammad. And when one of them objected to killing the babies, the response was like, no, that's the seed of the hypocrite right there. You know, we got to kill the babies too. And so a lot of people, you know, nowadays, because people ain't putting in that type of level of work nowadays, is everybody's, you know, real comfortable singing the Kumbaya stuff. But even when Malcolm was alive, during when he got silenced and put out of the nation, and then eventually went off and started doing his own thing. A lot of people don't know that there was a guy named Naeem. I forget his last name, but he was from Pakistan, and his name was Naeem, and he was actually he actually started talking about Malcolm X is a liar. This stuff that he's calling Islam is not the true Islam, but what Elijah Muhammad has is the true Islam. He was from Pakistan, but I checked up on him real recently, and I found out he was Qadiani, so it would make sense. But he was like their, how can you say, the Nation of Islam always has a so-called Sunni Muslim liaison go-to person to justify their inclusion amongst the Muslim community. During that time, it was this Pakistani Indian guy named Naeem, who I recently discovered was Qadiani, but nevertheless, so that I just wanted to address what Issa said about the importance of Aqidah and all of these things, because people always try to pretend Aqidah is like a secondary issue, put it under the rug. We really need to work together, and we do need to work together for social issues, but working together and pretending we the same, it just don't work. We could work together, for this particular stated goal, but we can't pretend that we all the same. We're not all the same. And I think that's, people kind of like mix up or conflate working together and unity and being the same. We can work together and be different. Like a lot of times we do stuff in the community, and there's Christians out there, there's non-religious groups out there. Sometimes the Nation of Islam is out there, the Sunni Muslims are out there, and we all working. None of us is pretending to be the same. And so I think that's what I have to say to his question.
Imam Faheem, they asking, are you still with us? You want to pick up on something?
Yeah, to answer that question, yes, I'm still awake. Yeah, it's a very important question. We definitely shouldn't be under any false pretenses, But in this time that we're living in, it's a reality that we have to deal with people who, have a false Aqidah, or erroneous Aqidah. And in some places like where we are in the tri-state, they're in pocket. You know what I mean? We have to, counter the stuff at times. We got to refute it at times. And sometimes we got to ignore it. It's just, so many fronts we got to attack it on, man, But, just to keep working. And sometimes we do get people to work with. Like, well, we got a concentrated form of, Wahhabis, like the lower level ones, man, like the worst ones, you know what I mean? And, they got the numbers and all that kind of stuff. And like, locally, it's like, okay, don't deal with us because we're Ahlul Bidah, you know what I mean? And so it takes so much energy no, y'all the ones that, that believe, the Allah is sitting on the throne in the sky, you have this alien belief about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and, but John, to convince people to do that, kind of, it's just tricky, you know what I mean? So the people that we can get, we do get some people who are willing to work, that have some heart, but it's an issue. We just got to finesse it, you know what I mean? It ain't going to totally go nowhere, and we just can't totally, just be like, okay, we ain't going to work unless everybody has the right Aqidah, because everybody ain't going to have the right Aqidah, I work with some people that, non-Muslim, atheists, and they put in a whole bunch of work, you know what I mean? And, they actually, I got to rely on them in some instances, you know what I mean? So it's important to keep it at the forefront, but we just got to figure out ways to, address it effectively.
I have like an approach with that, right? There's a reality that we're facing with. Wahhabism, in the name of Salafi, has become the dominant brand or slogan in especially inner city America. For a long time, they had a long run, right? And now that people of Ahl-Sunnati wal Jama'ah, Ash'ariyah and Maturidiyah are speaking out, and not speaking out in an apologetic way, like I'm Ash'ari or I'm Maturidi, let me just get along. Nah, I'm Ash'ari and I'm Maturidiyah and Maturidi, and this is the correct path. Follow what I'm saying here. So now that that's out, you got people who now they want to try to act like I'm not in that and I'm not in that, but I'm doing this middle thing. I'm in unity, but I'm really pushing Wahhabism and Salafism in another name. See, that's game. Like, you know, but we all unify and you sectarian. No, that's sectarianism, what you're talking about. So I don't have a problem with a person being, that's your methodology. Fine. This is our methodology. Where we can work and agree with, let's work what we can agree with. When we're not going to play religious games, we're not going to play those games. And I don't suggest in the name of unity, you compromise your religious principles. That ain't unity. That's false unity. The real unity in humanity is to respect each other's differences and learn not to destroy the earth while we're doing it. But I don't have to agree with you, right? So in order for us to work together, you want me to believe that Allah is in heaven. I'm not accepting that. No, that goes against Islam. Even if you call it Islam, no. But if that's what you believe, that's no different than the Christian who believe Jesus is God or God is in heaven. When they say, our Father who art in heaven, that's what they say. I'll hate you because I disagree with your belief. I'm not going to church and pray with you. We ain't doing that. But if there's some community things to change our condition, we're going to work together and get it done. So the problem is when you try to come together on the basis I legitimize your invalid creed. We can't do that, right? We're not going to do that. But that don't mean that we can't work together. I just am not going to accept your lies about Allah and his messenger. Now, you want me to say, so you say, it's a condition. No, you're making a condition. Believe as you wish and let Allah sort it out on the day of judgment. But don't try to make me agree to something that's contradicting our religious belief as Muslims. And you say, no, it's a different opinion. It's a different opinion to you. To me, that's a serious thing that you give Allah attributes and limbs of human beings. No, and Malcolm, as a man, wouldn't accept that. Malcolm knew how to have his position and work with people who disagree with him, right? But while maintaining his religious position. What we want to do is compromise principles to get along, and that doesn't work. So I think with me, so if I say like this, I'm going to sit down and you're going to go act like I'm some deviant Ash'ari and you're doing me a favor by letting you talk to you. If anything, it's the opposite. I'm doing you a favor, right? So like, nah, we ain't playing that game. And so that may look like, oh, he's being sectarian. How I'm sectarian? I'm telling you, I can work for you. We're going to state our beliefs, and just like you can dish it out, take it. You can dish it out, Sufis and Ash'aris and blah, 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 blah. You can dish it out, take it, right? When it's returned back, you can't take it. I can take you saying I'm deviant. That's your belief. I disagree with you. And we can have an intelligent discussion about that and not fight, right? But don't expect me to accept that you reinvented the Deen of Islam and gave it a name that you call it, and it ain't you personally as a person, but some people came in Saudi Arabia in the 13th century and reinvented the system of Islam to a new deen that most of the Muslims have never known, called us idol worshippers and grave worshippers, and then you want me to accept that because you act like you're nice to me. Come on. That's just not acceptable. And I think some things we got to be honest about. And for me, I believe compromising your principles is the worst thing you can do to try to achieve unity. You are better off maintaining your principles and then getting unity.
Say your famous line, man.
Knock
Say
it
your famous
off.
line. Knock it off.
No, seriously, let's have that discussion. We can disagree. I'm not saying you got to believe as I believe. You should, but if you don't, Allah gave you an intellect. Use it the way you see fit. But what I don't accept is that you're going to reinvent Islam and then push that on everybody else. That just doesn't make sense. You can't push it on everybody else. Like, you got people that just want to change the religion to make it their way and then say, okay, now once you accept my way, now we can get along. My brother and some of my family members, they're not Muslim, right? I get along with them all day long. And we have real talks, right? About belief, disbelief, what I believe, what they believe, and sometimes heated discussions. At the end of the day, that's what you believe, that's what I believe. We're not going to mix that, but we still do millions of things together. We work together, we fight social justice together, we in the streets together, right? But that don't have nothing to do with our belief. So I don't think we need to act like we're the same to work together. The world don't work like that, right? The world doesn't work like that. What we got to do is don't destroy the world because we disagree.
I think one of the, you saw me, man, Naeem? I think one of the pluses, though, with those people who have that sectarianism with, with the improper creed is that they ain't going to really do no work anyway. You know what I mean? So a lot of times they're not going to show up. And then you have some who are, supposedly taking the middle road. They're kind of quiet. They'll work with you, but they won't make it, they won't reach out to you. You know what I'm saying? And that's cool. Long as you know where I stand at when we were working together on social issues, we can work together, but when the issue of religion comes up in the Aqidah, this is where I'm at. I'm Ashari, I'm Shafi, and I'm working on being Shadili, inshallah, So that's where I'm at, Any problem?
Why you gotta be so sectarianism?
Hey man, listen, man. You call it what you want, you know what I mean? So and that's where I stand at. If that's a problem, we, like you said, we can discuss it. If not, then let's keep working and keep your mouth shut. You know what I mean? I had a recent one, man, that somebody said came to me and said, yeah, they said that one of the issues they had with you took a picture with the one of the ministers from the Nation of Islam. And I'm like, so like, you got from that I'm a follower of the nation now? You see in the picture that they gave us a plaque from the city and he was a representative for, our work in the community. How did you get from that I'm in the nation now? Like this dumb stuff. It's a picture. How does that represent, my beliefs? You know what I'm saying? Like, some people just gotta knock it off. You know what I mean? Knock it off. Hey, we putting that on the t-shirty, man.
Hey, just make sure we get our proceeds because we a poor black masjid, bro. All right, Imam 9, we're going to sum it up and see it ain't too many questions. Inshallah, you want to give some final statements?
One of the things that we can learn and benefit from our Shaheed, El-Hajj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X, is his ability to make things plain. They even coined the phrase, make it plain. And when they say make it plain, a lot of times Malcolm would say that to maybe some of the other ministers who may be introducing him or something like that. He may say like, you know, make it plain. In other words, wrap it up, right? Or sometimes make it plain meant like how we may say, break it down, I break it down. And that's one of the things Malcolm was excellent at. And I think we can take a page out of that book. Like, and I'll just give you one example. In the speech he gave, the ballot of the book or the bullet, he talked about the different congressional committees made up out of the Congress and how they controlled the government, meaning the Democrats. Because a lot of the same things that he was talking about, we can have the exact same discussion now and almost copy and paste what Malcolm said in that talk. And he talked about how they control basically 2/3 of the government. We still can't get justice. They had the White House, they had the Senate, you know, the House, and they ran most of the committees. But he also talked about how some of those same people, the Democrats, you know, are racist. You know, at that time they call them Dixiecrats or Southern segregationists. And he said, you know, all of this people you voted for control 2/3 of the government, and they any other legislation, they brought it up and got it out the way, and now they bring up you. You put them first, and they put you last, because you're a chump. A political chump. That's what we say. And we're doing the exact same thing. I mean, Obama, 8 years, a whole bunch of time. At one of his terms, the Democrats controlled a large majority of the legislative body, the House and the Senate. And then, you know, all the legislation they wanted to bring up, they brought it up, gotten it up out the way, especially a lot of LGBTQ legislation. And now election season comes up, and now they bring up you. And now they bring up you. Well, you put them first, and they put you last. Why? Because you're a chump, a political chump. It's the same thing now. And we still haven't learned a lesson yet. He gave that speech 56 years ago, and we still haven't got that lesson yet. Right? So in that speech,
Man, wait time out the phone.
Microphone. When he gave that speech, you know, after he broke it down, because I'm listening to it, he gave that speech in Detroit. I know who he was talking to. So he mentioned the technical stuff, and then he broke it down in a language everybody can understand. Started, you know, talk about chumps and all that kind of stuff. You put them first, they put you last, and you voted for them. They didn't give you nothing, and now you ready to vote for them again, right? And so I think that we could take a page out of that book. And even like we just finished talking about these different Aqidah issues. That's one thing that the Wahhabis have. It's the pamphlet religion. You know, everything is a slogan, a catchphrase that you can remember. And so, you know, a lot of times, like when we come with the truth, and you know, they got the little, where's the pamphlet? It's a small book. They got the little book like this, shoddy cover, and then we come with the truth. They ain't reading that. They want to read this. They ain't reading this. So we come all technical and all that kind of stuff. We got to find a way to condense stuff. And for the serious students, you know, they can come by and get the details later, but we got to know how to condense it and make it plain. Malcolm was excellent at that.
Imam Luqman, 2-minute closeout. I don't know if you've been listening. They went into their Wahhabi attack mode. Imam Naeem and Imam Faheem. You know, you can't have a black man's roundtable without that.
Yeah, we knew you wasn't here, so we went in.
If you didn't listen, you haven't done the right thing.
No, man, my son pulled out the plug, man. Just messing around. No, I think I've said enough. I mean, what I'm getting, and I enjoy the conversation, and I'm glad, alhamdulillah, people, you know, people are weighing in. I'm hearing questions and people's concerns. But what I keep finding that the recurring theme to all of this is going back to, you know, basic principles of Muslim civilization. They're just basic principles. If you look at all the different problems that we have, you know, talked about since we've been on this forum, they all go back to the same thing. And that was one of the things that the Prophet emphasized, is some sort of regulation, some sort of order for movement. Even when they sent the delegation, at the first the Pledge of Aqaba, there were people in charge. They knew what they were doing. And I think for us as Black American Muslims, I think we're going to get through this. I do believe that now more and more people are becoming aware, but at some point you have to take those thousands or tens of thousands of individual Muslims who are unattached, and you have to attach them to something. Because without doing that, I don't care how we talk about the problem, but we require some sort of critical mass at this juncture in order to move forward. Because, you know, if somebody just coming into Islamic activism now in the last few years, last 10 years, they would think that some of these concerns we have are new. But if you've been in it for over 20 years, you can, the same conversations we're having, except that now they're not chaperoned and nobody's shutting us up. There's nobody's there saying, well, brother Luqman, you need to, and no one's saying that. So we're more free to speak our minds, but the concerns are the same. We've had circular concerns, and you can see that in Malcolm's speeches from the 60s. You can say I talked about Black people's condition, and you look, here it is, 2020, exact same conditions. The condition hasn't changed. And for Muslims, it goes back to obeying Allah and obeying the messenger. There's no way to get around that in Islam. There's no way to get around the Sharia. There's no way to get around that the Quran is a revelation from God. And what he says, if he says we should do this, that means we should do this. If he says don't do this, that means don't do this. And we may think that our omission of major foundational directives, we may think that our omission of these major foundational directives are inconsequential. But what I'm saying, my view is that it's not. It's just not. If you don't set up the system that was designed for us to be a community, then you're not going to have that community. If you don't set up a system that was designed for us to adjudicate our affairs and to make it so that the whole community doesn't have to be on one issue, you know, under the time of the Prophet ﷺ, you didn't have that. You had this person, this is your issue. The whole community didn't collect zakat. The whole community didn't lead the prayer. The whole community didn't go out and battle. The whole community didn't study fiqh. It was, okay, you do this, so we can do this over here. We're still in the mode of that kind of mob mentality thing. We all jump on this, and then we all jump on this, and we all jump on this. And during that process, no one is in charge. So there's no place in America you can go. I think Imam Amin mentioned this, where they're the Black Leadership Council. What's your position on this? What's your position on this that affects Black American Muslims? What about this fatwa that came across the border? What's your position on that? There's no place you can go, but you can go to that for other communities. You got all kind of national councils, and you have all kind of Pakistani Imams Association, Arab League, Somali Association, Afghani Association, Indian Muslim Society. You got hundreds of organizations. You can just look it up on Google. You'll find hundreds of organizations that represent specific needs of different immigrant people. And alhamdulillah, I mean, they are brothers in Islam, but they have organizations that are dedicated to serving specific needs. You know, Saudi Arabia have a Saudi educational attaché. They used to be in Texas. I used to deal with them on other things. Their job is to deal with Saudi students, issues that Saudi students have. Pakistani American Association. You got all these kind of associations. We don't have that in Black Muslim America. So we are ungoverned people. And historically, no ungoverned people I went on to become a civilization, except they were colonized. So we don't have that governance, we have that pseudo-colonization. Because we still, you always have people to step into, there's people now, y'all not, but the black, why black? Why they gotta be black? We're part of the Ummah. I even seen brothers say, you know what, I don't have no imam, the prophet's my imam. I even seen dudes say, I'm my own imam. Like, what the heck? Come on, I mean, really, no, I'm telling you, I'm talking about right on Facebook. I'm my own imam. Like, what the hell? What the hell are you talking about, man? You know? So we have to, and ma'am, you mentioned, Imam, about the weeding. So I think we're getting there. Personally, I think we're getting there. I think that consciousness is coming because not just us, but because people have had the opportunity to talk about real issues. Some people got upset, some people offended. That happens, and just it happens that the imams I know in this particular forum, that's not really going to shut them up. That's not going to stop anybody just because that one person is offended. But in the past, when imams got together, all it take was one immigrant dude not liking it. He could be at the meeting, be a one guy, brother, I want to say, and we stopped the whole thing. The whole thing is, well, this brother has a point. We have to understand our brother. You know, listen, these guys meet. I'm not against immigrants. I'm for, you know, and my own masjid, it is a multicultural masjid, you know. And when I talk about black issues, there are Arabs, Pakistanis, Somalis, Africans right in the audience. But most immigrants understand if you're being yourself. It's not, there is racism, but it's not as profound as we may think. I have learned that a lot of people from different communities, the problem that people question is why Black American Muslims, we've stopped weighing in. Sheikhs have stopped weighing in our holidays. They used to. They don't. Listen, Thanksgiving's coming up. You're going to see very, very few scholars weighing in about Thanksgiving anymore. We put that stuff to an end. So now that we don't have the overseer and trying to whip us into shape, you know, that's leading people to the conclusion about Black American Muslims, y'all really don't even deserve to be a civilization. Because here we are, we're not even stopping you from doing nothing, and you don't want to do nothing. We're not stopping you from congregating. We're not stopping you from supporting your masjid. We're not stopping you from raising money. We're not stopping you from starting schools. We're not stopping you from doing anything. Our thing is that for many of us, I don't know if it's a spell, if it's a curse, if it's some magic. I don't know what the reason. I'm trying to figure out the why. But for many of us, because the level of apathy has reached such a high level now that, you know, we don't show the concern about generational continuity. And everybody knows that you have to have some generational continuity because people get old. People get old and they die. So there has to be somebody behind you, your sons, your grandsons, your granddaughters, somebody who has been groomed, if not to be leaders, to be solid Muslim men, solid Muslim women. So we're fighting a lot of battles that is absolutely, in my view, it's absolutely ridiculous that we fight in these battles. We shouldn't be fighting feminism. It shouldn't be an issue. We should live our lives according to our scripture. And when you follow the law, I just think that we've come too far down the rabbit hole that we need to pull out the big guns. The big guns is Sharia. Because in Sharia, everybody's equal. If it's Sharia, if we're following Kitab and Sunnah, and people say, I see people say, oh, that's so complicated. Kitab and Sunnah won't solve the problem. I mean, listen, if people pray 5 times a day, man, seriously. I mean, you know, I see Allah's bounty, His goodness, but there's a lot of opposition to our scripture. We got people online with us who ain't even Muslim. You got agent provocateurs online with us, and if you shut them down,
Imam Faheem, he said he want the mic.
Oh, go ahead, man. I'm done, man. Listen, I want to see the rest of this debate, man. I want to see this debate.
Don't worry, they worse than us, right?
No, I wonder who's winning the debate. No, I'm done. I'm going to stick with that position. We need governance. We need Sharia, and that's my.
Man, unfortunately, they losing their system. We might have an answer for them. Great, Faheem.
Okay, in honor of brother El-Hajj Malik Shabazz, I'm putting it officially in the air today. We are establishing the OBMU, the Organization of Black Muslim Unity. All right, we're putting it in the air. That's what we're doing. Because one of the things that he was saying that, you know, in order for us to really have unity with other people, we have to be unified. So all the people are listening today, you know, the work that we do and what we're calling to, you know, help us to be unified as Black Muslims so we can have strength and galvanize our efforts so we can move forward. And like one of the things that Imam Amin always pushes, that we don't leave this stuff for the next generation. You know, so that's the word we're putting out there. An organization of Black Muslim unity. We're not excluding anybody else. We're just making sure that we're together first. You know what I mean? Well, our house is together first before we can even go somewhere else. So help us with that. You know, when we ask for donations, we ask for support, you know, anything that we need, help us, because, you know, we're like the last, you know, vanguard of people who are doing this kind of work. And, you know, I mean, I've been hearing studies from people. They saying the type of imams that we are, we dying out. And I refuse to accept that, man, you know. And if I'm going to die out like that, I'm going out with a bang.
That's right. Going on fight, man.
Going on with a bang, man, you know. All right, so that's all I got.
You know, I want to share something because, you know, right? Here's a thing that I see, right? And I look at my 40 years of Islamic experience trying to get this thing right, through groups, movement all over the world, right? I like came full circle. I started off on black time, like, you know, weird stuff, but black time, it was like my blackness and my Islam was connected, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a black man and we Muslim. And, you know, Naeem from New York and Imam Luqman, you from Philly, and I know in Camden you used to see, we was like proud to be Muslim and black. I mean, in our minds, we had corrupt Aqidah, but, you know, we was proud to be like, that was a defining thing. I'm Muslim and I'm black, right? And both of those were badges of honor. Not I'm Muslim, but oh, I'm a black guy. No, I'm black and I'm Muslim, right? That was like that's a thing. And I look, after 40 years, here I am 40 years later, and I'm back at that point. I'm black and I'm Muslim, right? But I don't have no deviant creed, inshallah ta'ala, right? I believe that I've found what every other Muslim for generations have found. And that's why I push Asanid. Because when I talk about chains of narration, I don't want to just talk about names. I'm talking about a reality of deen that was generational, that worked, right? And when you use that scale, for me, that's a scale for us to do for the future. The problem why Muslims, and I'm talking about in the African-American community specifically, I'm talking about, why we can't get on, because we don't got one Islamic system, right? We got completely different religions, and we don't say it. It's all said Islam, but it's completely different. It's not the same at all. There's no way you're going to join between these polar opposites that we got that we all call Islam. It don't work. So there's going to be a point where we're going to say, hold up, we got to define for us, forget the rest of the world. We got to define for us, what is Islam? What does that look like? Because we've got all these imported versions of Islam that we haven't reconciled yet, right? So if you look at all the different groups we got, you know, that have come to us. I remember, so let's go within what they call Sunni Islam, right? Let's put in there. We've experienced the Dar Islam movement, which was a certain ideology. We got the Pakistani type, Tablighi type thing going through our communities. Then as it comes on, we got the real hardcore Salafi thing came through. Then we got the Ikhwani thing that came through our communities. Then we got this and this and this. And we've been bombarded with all this stuff. Now, finally, we're getting some traditional Sunni madhab type Sufism. We had all this stuff that's been pushed on our community, and never for us. It was always used to use us as a foot soldiers. It never was. We never became leaders. That's why we never got no leaders out of none of that stuff. Like there's no black leadership because we was always having an Islam that was exported from somewhere else and put on us, and we took it up. We put it in there and found out it didn't work for us. So I'm saying now we got to learn to start using something that works for us. And we can't apologize for that. Like, hold up. Because I know for myself, I refuse to let my children go through what I went through and stand there and watch. Absolutely not. So I'm just saying for us, I think we're going to have some real conversations that we don't want to have, but we have to. Or we're going to pass this stuff on to generations, and we're going to be extinct, like you said, Imam Luqman. You can't have Muslims walking around confused about their religion, right?
I know, man.
You got people who don't know, and I'm gonna just be honest, not to attack anyone, because like I said, I'm black, so I wanna lift all my people up. And part of me having this real conversation with you is like, listen, bro. You are a recognized figure in the black community. Say so-and-so famous Imam, right? All right. So you represent a segment of our people. So you got all of us that represent a segment of our people, right? If we're going to help our people, we're going to have to sit down and come to some serious understanding and whatever that takes. And it ain't going to be on Facebook shooting shots at each other. It's going to be men looking, because I'll give you one. This is important. I remember in the streets, right? We had wars. And if you go back to 1987, 88 in Atlantic City, bodies was all over this place, right? Literally, every time you turn around, someone was in a trunk, right? And I remember when we had getting ready to go, we got together from different parts, different people, and like, listen, we're going to destroy everything for everybody if we don't stop. Even if we got to make some rules and say, listen, this, you can't do this, you can't do this. But all this killing is going to make everything hot and no one's going to make it. And I remember sitting and saying, okay, these are new rules. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that. And these are all criminals, right? That's how they talking. You can't do that. And if one person do it, everybody coming against them, right? That was rules. That's how it was. That was, as you say, Imam Luqman, code. All right. So the absence of code has made what you said Islam in the black community wild, wild west. So here you got in our masjids, while we're got an imported version, we're fighting, everyone else is building and building their communities, and while we becoming extinct. So we're going to have to sit down, a group of men, and be men. Listen, I don't care where you study that. I'm a man, I got children, I got a family, I got wife, I got brothers and sisters. Now we're gonna have a real talk. And that talk, you can run from it, but we're gonna have it, right? It's gonna eventually come, or we're gonna destroy ourselves. Even if we just get to the point where we say, listen, right? All right, we disagree, we got creedal issues, we ain't on the same, but here's the rules how we're going to engage with one another, right? We got to make treaties.
Treaties.
Right? Yeah, we got to make treaties. Listen, I'm not going to attack you. You're not going to attack me. This area is safe for you. This area is safe for me, right? That's what you have to do. But when we act like we ain't at war and we ain't differing, that's how fights start, right? You know, this is our neighborhood. You come in here trying to set up shop, you asking for a war. right? But if you got disrespect, well, I'm coming in anyway. He ain't on my set. Okay, when we light you up, then you got it, right? So that's the same thing. So people say in Masjid Muhammad, for instance, well, and I got some Rodney King dudes in my Masjid, and they be like, oh, Imam, you running them away. No, they can come in. They just better be respectful. They get out of line, I'm giving it to them, period. And I wouldn't go in their place and be disrespectful, right? Right? It will be respect. That's cold, right? But if you come up in here and you think you're going to go, y'all on some bid'ah and you're going to we're going to send you out of there in a bag, period. That's how you going out. But if you come in with respect, that's it. That's how you want to stop fitna. Everybody know, listen, we ain't doing that. I'm not going to disrespect you. You're not going to disrespect me. If we disagree, we're going to respectfully disagree. But you're not going to disrespect me, right? And that's a reality because we do that anyway, right? But that's how you save the world from World War III, right? Why you think nobody's going to go attack China? Or they ain't doing that. Why? Because it's going to be a consequence. So they got to make a treaty, right? They got to make a treaty. And we got to learn to do that for our own salvation of our future. And I hate to make it so harsh, but that's the reality.
Reality, man.
If it wasn't like that, I got so many masjids that have been taken by people talking about they on the da'wah. Take them, because the jokers in there is soft. Period. Because they can come in there and they know they ain't got no war coming. Right? That's the reality. They're going to take it and go count around in our communities. They didn't go in them Pakistani masjids and take them. They went and took black masjids. Why? Because they're going to call the cops on you. Right? So this is real stuff. And the only way that we settle conflict is by being honest, being men, and say, listen, we disagree. We ain't gonna act like we agree. But here's the rules. This is how we gonna handle it. Right? We disagree. And that's fine, right? But I get you what? You're gonna have safety, you're gonna have less confusion, less fitna, and mutual respect, and you'll get something done. I mean, and I know some people be like, what did you just say? He's talking about he's going to hurt somebody. Nah, we're hurting future generations by not stopping somebody now, right? As we know in the Quran, if you don't check one hand by another, people check other, there's going to be facade in the earth. If somebody don't say no, all of us know we from the inner cities. If it ain't a strong team on one end, people gonna come make mischief, right or wrong. We know this. So why do we get to Islam and we watching mischief? We watch because there's no standard of saying we can't do that. The Prophet had to make, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, had to make these agreements with Quraysh, right or wrong. He had to make it with the Jews in Medina. You got to make those things.
Many of them.
You have to. So, because these are civilizations, they realize for survival. Well, we are civilization too. The black man and black woman and black children got to survive. So we got to make some agreement. If we don't eventually stand up, we're going to keep being killed. Right? If we don't say, nah, you can't do that. They're not going to stop until you make some kind of agreement. So I guess, you got my point? I mean, and I'm willing to die for that. I don't have no problem with it. I give my life for it with a blink of an eye. Like, I'm willing to die and I'm willing to kill both. So don't think I'm coming to be sacrificed. No, I'm willing to die for that and I'm willing to kill if necessary. So it go both ways, right? But we shouldn't have to die and we shouldn't have to kill if we respect each other. Do you see my point? Nobody got to die. Nobody got to kill. Let's respect one another. But if you're going to remove the respect, somebody's going to die and somebody's going to have to kill.
But you know what, man? I think we're making progress, man. Slowly. We're making progress. You know, people get offended and everything, but they come around. Nobody's talking about violence. I'm just saying, we're just talking about, as Muslim men, we stand for this stuff that we stand for. This is just being a man. The principles, codes, procedural thing, the lines we don't cross because we're Muslim. And that's how things get done.
Do you notice why, if you look at Malcolm didn't, and Farrakhan said this a while back when, you know, he was like, if he was really your leader, he wouldn't have got killed like that. Y'all would have been protecting him, right? He said this. Forget what, like, if he's really your leader, you give your life for him, right? And guess what? They made those moves because they didn't feel was going to be some payback for that. But if you knew you're going to take a life, you're going to give one, they would have thought twice. Even if they would have did it, they wouldn't have did it that way. Not that way, right? So what I'm saying is that's just some stuff you just can't forget. And sometimes I think we get so spooked out that we don't realize reality, right? That's reality.
Imam, you're right, and I heard that speech myself. And as much as I didn't like it, he was speaking the truth. He was actually talking trash. He was basically saying, "Yeah, we did it. And if you really loved him, y'all did something about it." That's really what he was saying.
And I'm not saying he's right, but I'm just saying that's how life works, right? I mean, and here's my point. We're living the result of not realizing that, right? You know, just think if people weren't afraid, right? How far would the schools of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah be, right? You got a lot of black Asharis, Maturidis, Shafis, Hanafis, Malikis, a bunch of them, Sufis. Why is it so strange for somebody to say that in our community? It's a bunch of graduates from universities. That's because somebody bullied you.
They sitting around on Facebook making Facebook groups, weeding out everyone who don't agree with them, but they scared to actualize what they say they believing on the ground. They don't establish any tangible institutions, and you know, they like Malcolm, he built something. Even though his haters in the nation then and now don't like it, he helped build the nation himself. You know, he was building
And
stuff
what?
and was ready to fight and
Malcolm
die for
said it. I'm willing to die, and if necessary, I'm willing to do what else too. That's why he got that rifle talking about by any means necessary. I don't want to hurt you. Who did he go harm? But if you're going to come inflict harm, I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to defend the truth.
Yeah, rush them fools, cuz.
You know?
Rush them fools, cuz.
I hope, and I'm just saying, but guess what? That doesn't just apply to us. The day is going to come where people have to stand on their principles.
Yeah.
Right?
It's coming soon.
The Dajjal's going to come and you're going to be able to say, you know, don't mess with us, we Muslim. Nah, they don't work like that. Nah, I don't work that way. Nah, partner. It's time to stand up for what you believe. That's life. And I don't know, I guess my experiences in life, I've seen that so much. So I know that that's a reality in life. And you know, hey Faheem, you know the old saying, it's hard but it's fair. Had a home, should have stayed there, right? I know you heard that line before, right?
Yeah, man.
Hey, it's what it is, man. Believe me, if we don't change the situation in our community, some of us don't know what this system got for us. You know, We gotta make a change. Got a lot of work to do. And one of it is to take control of our own reality as Black men and women, right? We got to do it. And don't nobody care about us. They don't. I got a call. We way over time, but I got to share this with y'all. I got a call. And people got over $100,000 in zakat money. $100,000 in zakat money. Now let's go in the Muslim community in America. Out of all the population of Muslims, who needs zakat the most? In terms of ethnicity.
Black people.
So somebody called me. They says, Imam, we got all this zakat money. They asking me for a religious judgment how to use the money so they don't have to give it to the poor. Nah, seriously. And I'm saying, well, it's a bunch of Black Muslims who actually not only need it, they deserve it if we're serious about building the ummah. They got 100 grand. I'm not exaggerating. 100 grand zakat money. So nobody earned this money. It is money that's supposed to go to the poor. They came to me about it. And I'm saying to myself, and they didn't dish it to the people. And I'm saying to myself, I'm saying like, that's a no-brainer. All these poor people who need money, you couldn't just say, here, point me to the people or point this and, you know, let's give this community some, this community, all around the country. You couldn't find no, and that means that's, but we talking about we won ummah. I mean, seriously. And I'm saying to myself, and then I got another call saying they're gonna call you back. I said, they're not gonna call me back because they know what I'm gonna tell them to do with the money. Right? Imam Luqman's community needs some money. Imam Faheem's money, they need some money. Masjid Muhammad, I got a bunch of poor people all around the country. I can point to every masjid. They need money. They need help just to help the poor. Forget the masjid, I'm talking about the people. Especially during the time of COVID, and you got 100 grand and you figuring how not to give it to the people who deserve it? Who deserve it? Now, I ain't gonna knock it off. I know more than that. Bro, I be around real people. I know what goes on. It's the Black people who don't expect what we think. I'm in those circles. 100,000, that's peanuts. Some got 500, some got $1 million in zakat money. You don't know what goes on. We food. Trust me, Imam, I know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I be behind those closed doors. I know what's going on. But what my point is, I don't get mad at nobody for that. But I knew the answer, so I knew what they was gonna do with it, right? But here's my question. If that ain't telling you, listen, you better do for yourself. You better build your own communities. Then I don't know, you're blind. I mean, and I don't get mad at them. They're doing what we should be doing. We should be building our own communities and being respectful. I'm not mad at you because that money didn't come from us. It came from your people working. Okay, build. What is nice that you follow scripture and you give to those who are poor, but you got that much money, that means you don't even have no poor among your people. Your community, everybody's straight. that you got $100,000 in zakat money, $500,000 in zakat money, $1 million in zakat money? But if we don't understand the situation, and trust me, this ain't like a few places around the country. It's a lot of people, places with money like that. They just ain't giving it to you. It's there, trust me. It's available. But at the same, like I said, and I don't blame them for that. Religiously, it's blameworthy. But I'm talking about in the reality, what we're dealing with, everyone is taking care of their own. Now you got to learn to take care of your own. And then once you're on equal footing, now there'll be mutual respect, right? Let any of us today get Jay-Z money and watch how differently you get treated, right? Let any one of these imams or anyone in that crowd become a millionaire. Watch how different you get treated. Watch the respect change. So it ain't about deen. So empower yourself. Uplift your community. Build. That's real. And I can point any community you tell me that's come in where black people are black people are there, that someone else built them up to help them be strong. Give me one community anywhere in the country. Point it out. You go and see how many build up the, go to, are you going to go? They come in, settle, set up. Soon as they get set up, see you, assalamu alaikum, and leave you right where you at and go build what is conducive for them. I've seen it all the time. It's not like, I'm surprised, we're surprised, right? Like it happens so much. I'm surprised you surprised.
We're naive, man.
I mean, but so here's my thing. If we're ever going to make a change, all of us have been saying it. Some of us have been bought and sold. Then I can't speak like this because they're on the payroll. Look, man, I'm trying to get some of that 100,000 in salary so they can make the zakat so where they can use it all for their community and give me a job and give me some money. Heck, the rest of y'all, forget y'all. This is real, right? So what I'm saying is we've been forced, and I think it's a good thing, to take care of ourselves. I don't think it's a bad thing. I have no hostility towards no one else for showing us that you must take care of yourself. We should have been doing it from the door. That's what we were doing, and we were respected when we were doing that. We had some footing. When we stopped doing it, we lost respect, and now do it. And now for all of us that come and we listen to the Black Roundtable, we listen to the Post-Fajr Reflection, it's time to stop listening and start building with your people who's trying to do something for you and empower them to do it. Other than that, we're talking Malcolm, but Malcolm was trying to do it. Malcolm died broke. Don't repeat the cycle. Malcolm died broke. And his family, his kids, wasn't able to maintain their Islam. And they ain't in the same way he was like him. Why? Because no one helped. They just celebrated and talked and said, Assalamu alaikum, takbir, 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 ma'as-salama. See you later. And that's what we're doing right now. And Imam Luqman, I'm talking long, I know I'm in, but
no, go ahead, man.
Stuff. When you ask me, and all y'all know why I'm the way I am, is because I see this stuff too much. So y'all know how I do. People don't know me. Y'all know me firsthand. We brothers, and I mean it with everything I got in my heart. Because if we don't be like that, if we don't stick together, if we don't not cross each other, man, we don't stand a chance. And all of us got babies and children. What about tomorrow Islam look like? If Imam Naeem go out of business, Imam Faheem go out of business, Toledo Masjid go out of business, Masjid Muhammad go out of business, they don't care. See you later. That's it. We done. Your children go to jail, don't go to school, your daughters get pregnant. No one gives a damn. So you better give a damn, because ain't no one else coming to help them. They ain't coming nowhere near you, except for a photo shoot on Thanksgiving and give out some school bags when it's back to school for pictures so they can get more money.
A school bag. They got that out there too. The school bag.
Yeah, I'm just being honest. So if you ain't learning, and I know this ain't popular speech, right? Oh, he's on that black time stuff. You better be on it. And guess what? If we want to see future generations of Islam, right? Imams, and you want scholarship, you better support the living Imams. You better make them live good, because if they living poor and they struggling, their children, the future children, have no desire for that at all. Why I want to be an Imam? Why I want to be a sheikh? To struggle like my dad? To struggle like Imam so-and-so? He don't even have a car. He don't even have he's struggling. He got to go to Juma every day and beg, every week, and beg people. Who the hell want to do that? When the white America is giving them Cardi B and all that other crap and shoving that down their throat, and you giving them nothing. You telling them the masjid's roof is leaking, and you telling them that's what you be a good Muslim. You on the Quran and Sunnah. Man, you are crazy. Ain't no kid gonna accept that. And that's why we don't grow. We actually losing children. So we gotta be responsible for that. It can't be just talking. We gotta do something. We gotta really show I mean what I say and I say what I mean. That's it. But I guarantee you, the minute you start supporting, the minute where you support your own, you put your money, and then they build. And from our side, as leaders, we got to be trustworthy, right? We can't be full of crap. We got to be, nah, I see what they do. I see they live that. I see them build, right? And they're going to test you. Our people going to take you through it, right? They're going to put lumps on you. They're going to stress you the hell out. But you got to man up and do what you got to do. And after a while, they respect you. And I don't have no problem saying that. The Wahhabi and Salafi people in my neighborhood, they hate my guts, but they respect me. They don't like me, but they respect me. There's a lot of the people that they don't like me because of my position, but they respect me. For sure that they respect me. And what I'm saying is we need that for all of us. And we got to do everything we can do to help each other. And it's going to sometimes hurt. Sometimes you're going to have to give what you don't got. You're going to have to make an effort where you lazy and tired and you don't feel like driving in the rain, right, Imam Luqman? You don't feel it's pouring down rain and you got to do what you got to do, because my brothers, my family, we need each other. We got to start, maybe all of us should go back and watch New Jack City to find one line. We all we got, baby. Well, how'd that go? We all we got. Faheem, I know you got that line. What is it?
CMB, we all we got.
That's
Am I
reality,
my brother's
man.
keeper?
Yeah.
Am I my brother's keeper?
Yes, sir, brother. That's right.
And then you
All
pop
right.
it.
OBMU, we all we got.
Yeah, what is it? OBMU.
OBMU.
But guess what? When we stick together and we motivate others, we'll get the job done.
Yeah.
We'll get the job done. And as I said, just be patient. Keep working. Don't quit. Right? Keep working. Keep doing what we're doing week after week. It's going to be some people who's going to say, you know what? They serious. They stick together.
Just
Only one thing, you ain't gonna do me like Nino Brown did my man at the table, man. With the, you know what I mean? Because I'm light skinned. You're not gonna do that, man.
Hey, guess what? Now, that's the thing, Faheem.
That's where the script change at.
Imam Faheem, I'm already tried and tested, battle proven. Even the white man will tell you that. Like, nah, he ain't going out like that. That's the good thing, right? But alhamdulillah, somebody close us out. I love you, brothers, man. And
I love you too, man. Exactly like here, brother. Between me and you, man, I love you. All right?
Yeah. Keep that between me and you, though, man. You know, man. You know.
But you my man. You my man, man. I told my pops about it, man. He was all happy.
Did your pops tell you I saw him
Today?
Soon as I left you, I saw your father.
Oh, we didn't know where he was. We didn't know he's supposed to be going down to Delaware.
No, he told me he's getting ready to leave to Africa next month.
Yeah, he is. He's going.
Make dua for him, you know. Father, how old is your dad?
80.
80. Listen, y'all, I want to share something with you. His father, Sheikh Abdul Karim, 80 years old. He raised generation of Muslims. And I saw you giving that. But that man, 80 years old, and I saw him today. He's still moving around like he's in his 20s.
Still giving
on job.
Still giving.
I was looking at him. I was like, this, mashallah. 80. He's still on post. 80 years old.
Post, man.
Ain't dropped, ain't still in it, in the struggle, in the stuff. 80 years old.
Yep. Strong.
That's what we need. Right? When we can say that, and that's my children, grandchildren, great-great-grand, I still showing them what Islam is. 80 years old.
Still is.
May Allah reward them.
Amin. Wa iyyakum.
So let's make dua for him and keep him in our dua. All right, Imam Luqman, close us out. I'm sorry for being long-winded, brothers.
No, alhamdulillah, man.
I think only way we're going to get our people moving, we got to start talking real stuff. They like to hear, you know, but they need some real talk sometimes.
Real talk, man.
And I think that's why they stay here for 2-3 hours listening to us make no sense at all.
ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم الأموات وألف بين قلوبنا واجعل في قلوبنا الإيمان والحكمة والأخوة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. ونصلي ونسلم ونبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.
All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi
wa barakatuh.